Hello, everyone. I'm so glad that you could join us for today's webinar where we will learn just a little bit about Fold3. If you've had a chance to use Fold3, you probably are very familiar with the sense that it is a great place to look for military records. And on a day such as today, Happy Veterans Day to everyone, it seems like a perfect time to celebrate and also to explore what else this database has to offer. So again, I want to welcome you. And my name is Daniel Smith. If I've not met you before, I'm the genealogy librarian here at the Cook Memorial Public Library District. As we begin, I think that it's always a great time and a great moment to just take a little bit of time to also acknowledge our veterans. All of us have mostly, and our families have veterans. So I want to acknowledge that by playing this version of TAPS, but also I want to give us an opportunity to share the names of our veterans. So in the chat, as this plays, I do encourage you to share the names of the veterans. And I encourage those who are attending to look at those names, to remember those in our family, whether they're ones, ancestors that we knew personally or ancestors that are further up our family tree, but we know that they served in some capacity. Feel free to drop those names in the chat. Thanks to those who shared in the chat. I hope that that was a meaningful time of reflection for you to think about those in our families or those that we know who have served in some capacity. And I give thanks for their service and for you being here as a testament to them and the family. So when it comes to the name Fold3, you may already have a guess as to why it's called that. But for folks who may not know, Fold3 is a name that comes from the traditional flag folding ceremony, one that you probably have seen at the funeral, perhaps, of someone who served in the military, in which the third fold is made in honor and remembrance of veterans who served in defense of their country to maintain peace throughout the world. So you can see some versions of a flag folding there. But for those who haven't had a chance to witness that, I thought it would be kind of meaningful to see that here in this video. You can see in that ceremony in the folding there about how it takes two folks to fold, and then they take the time to fold it in that sort of triangle, and some would say reminiscent of someone's hat, like a tri-cornered hat also as well, something maybe we've seen someone like George Washington wear from the American Revolution. So when it comes to Fold3, there are a lot of different things that are available. Of course, we'll focus majority of today on military records. So you can see that Fold3 features is a premier collection of original military records. These records include the stories, photos, and personal documents of the men and women who served in the military. Many of the records come from the U.S. National Archives, the National Archives of the UK, and then some other international records, which may be something that's not as familiar to most folks. When it comes to the different types of military records that are available, just some examples, you might find draft registration cards, you might find muster rolls, you could find pension applications, and a variety of other documents that are related to the military service. It could have been something that was created and filed and generated at the time of service, but it could be also something that was generated later on in recognition of their service, or when they're filing for some sort of pension or other sort of things that are related to military benefits. So those things may be there and available too. Most wars are featured in the database itself. So you start with the Revolutionary War, moving on to some more recent wars and conflicts that we've been involved with in the United States, but also again throughout the world. There's a very, very strong collection of Revolutionary War records. So if you're working on an SAR application, a DAR application, maybe looking for adding some supplemental folks, if you've already found your Patriot, but you're researching some other possibilities, this could be a great database to pick up some extra records to add to your application. But as I mentioned earlier, they also have some non-US records. Specifically, they have things from the UK, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. And we'll talk a little bit about how to find those in a little bit when we do a database demo. When it comes to what else is available, I kind of hinted at this earlier, it's more than just military records. So they have census records, they have city directories, they have naturalization records, newspapers, the Social Security Death Index is included there. They have various vital records, so birth, marriage, death records are available there. Many of these are findable elsewhere, so you may have found them in Ancestry or MyHeritage or on Family Search and some other sort of places that you are usually find those sorts of records. But I want to mention them because you may find them when you're in your searching. And it could be that you find something there that you haven't seen elsewhere. So, as we know, databases are large, and we're talking about using something like Family Search or Ancestry. It's just a lot of records. So it could be that when you do a search there, just because they have a little bit less in this sort of database, you might find something that you hadn't seen before. A lot of the extra sort of materials that aren't related to the military are from a previous version of Fold3 called Footnote, and then when it was bought by others, they eventually changed it to Fold3 and changed their focus. Originally, Footnote was going to a very ambitious goal, but they were going to work on digitizing everything available through the National Archives. And I think they realized that was a very large task, but again, they were bought out. So the next people who took on the tasks that were being done, this digitization and scanning that Footnote had started, they began to realize that maybe we should just focus on military records. So that is really where as they say, the bread and butter is these days. That's really what you're going to find on Fold3. But again, you might find some of these other documents as well. They're still there, and they're still available. When it comes to using Fold3, so I will really focus on what's available by using the library subscription, which is very, very similar to a personal subscription. So unlike I know that for folks who use Ancestry, the Ancestry Library Edition sometimes doesn't have everything that an Ancestry personal account has. Same thing with like newspapers.com. We have a newspapers.com subscription that the library subscribes to, but sometimes if you have a personal subscription, you may find that you find other newspapers that you don't find through the library. It doesn't really seem to be that way as much with Fold3. Fold3 seems to be, everything seems to be accessible. I'm not going to say, every single thing, but and unlike Ancestry and newspapers.com, there's a lot of stuff available just through the library subscription. But I want to encourage you to create a free account just because as you can see here, it unlocks some additional tools. There are some things that you can do, ways of saving and keeping notes and archiving and things like that that you wouldn't be able to do just by using the library subscription alone. What you would do is, you would click on the library subscription, which I'll show you in a little bit, and then you would go and sign in again or create that free account. It's just kind of an additional layer that gives you, again, some additional tools. So again, I will show you a little bit later how to click in member login, and you'll see it in the top right if you've ever used Fold3 before. And you can create it using an Ancestry account if you have one of those, or you can just use your email. The nice thing about linking it to your Ancestry account, if you happen to have one, you can then share the docs and images directly to your tree. With an account, you also can create memorials and tags and subject pages. You can see that there. We'll talk a little bit about what those are and what they look like. Something handy with an account too is you can view previous items. You also can upload some of your personal things and photos that you may have. That's available just, again, with a free account. The nice thing about being able to view previous items is, as we know, sometimes we look through lots of different records and sometimes we lose track of what we found and where we found it. And by having a free account, you can see some of those previous items that you've viewed. I apologize, my voice was struggling just a little bit there. You also can annotate and share items if you have a free account. Again, we'll talk a little bit about these features, but I want to mention them as we start. If you're not using the library subscription, you can search for free. So you can just go to Fold3 and you can do searches. The thing is you probably have found this on Ancestry too. When you do a search, it'll kind of give you a teaser. It'll show you some results. But when you go to click on them, you don't really get any information if you don't have a subscription. So that's why it's really good to start with a library's account. But also you can search and view free records and collections without an account, without using the library's subscription. One example is the Civil War records. We'll talk a little bit later, but around this time of year, a lot of databases will really feature some of their veteran collections. I'll mention some of those toward the end. Fold3 is one of them. So you could go today and search for some of the World War I and World War II records for free that are available there without even logging in anywhere. So how about we talk about where to start? Now that we talked a little bit about what's contained in the databases and how you can create an account, let's go ahead and start looking at where to start in the database itself. So to get there, I always encourage folks to go to the library's homepage. You can see cooklib.org. And then on the library's homepage, there's a research tab. You would select that and then select genealogy. And then if you scroll down on the genealogy page, there's a database section that you can expand. And that's where the Fold3 link would appear. Now, I will say that it opens automatically at the library. So if you are at the library and you click on that Fold3 link, it'll automatically log in and show you what's available through Fold3. If you decide to access it from home, you probably will get to a page that asks you to enter in your Cook library number, and that will start with 211-2200 and some other numbers. So you may have to log in to access those materials. So Fold3 is provided by Ancestry. And as you know, the Ancestry subscription through the library requires you to be at the library to access it. So the nice thing about Fold3 is that, like HeritageQuest, which is another Ancestry product, you can access some of those resources online from home. You don't have to come necessarily to the library. We're always happy to see you at the library. But if you want to do your searching at midnight, this is a great place to go and search because you can do that again from home. You can search by keyword, name, place, service number, etc. You can also browse collections, which can be helpful if you're just curious about what's inside a collection, or maybe you don't even know where to start or what to look for. You can just browse and see what sort of collections are available and sort of what records might appear in that, and give you a sense of what you could look for an ancestor. As we start, I wanted to show just a picture of my veteran and some of his medals, as well as some other things, including the flag that was on his casket when he was buried and folded and framed there. As you can see, he fought in World War II. I have some other ancestors that fought in other wars, but I wanted to show you as one that I will start with some of my searching. So this is my grandfather, Robert Lawrence. All right, so now it's time to do some searching and browsing. Let me wander over to the library's homepage. And again, just to echo the steps I showed you earlier, we're going to go to Research and Genealogy. And once that page loads, we'll scroll down just a little bit. You can see here's that databases. Scroll down until we find Fold3. Now, again, I'm here at the library, so when I click on it, it automatically takes me to it. But if I was accessing from home, I would have to enter in my library card number. So here we are on the home page of Fold3. You can see a large search box right here in the middle, and that really kind of draws you to that area where you can begin doing your searching. But before I do that, I mentioned earlier that you could create a free account. So you can see up here in the top right, it says member login. I'm going to do that, and then I'm just going to enter in my information here. Sign in with my Ancestry account. All right, so I did that earlier. So if you hadn't signed in with your Ancestry account, it would take you to Ancestry, ask you to enter in your credentials, and then automatically log you in. So you can see I've gotten that taken care of. And that's important because that'll be a way I can show you some of those additional tools we talked about earlier. So let's say you're looking for, I'm going to go back to my grandfather who I just showed you. I'm going to put his information in here. And you notice that before I click search, it's kind of giving me some suggestions. It's saying, you're entering in Robert Edward Lawrence. Is that a keyword? Is that a name? Is that a place? And of course, we know that's a name. So if I put that there, it's automatically going to look for the name Robert Edward Lawrence in the name field of anything that's contained, any of the records, any of the other sort of documents that are here on Fold3. Now, I've entered this in, and immediately I can see that, I've got over 15,000 results. That's a lot to sort through, but I can already see that the first three are not going to be helpful for me. They're not my grandfather. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can add additional keywords. So I know that he lived in Tennessee, he enlisted in Tennessee. So I'm going to add that, and again, gives you this drop down, and I'm going to select it as a place. Now, as soon as I do that, now I found my veteran. You can see here, I have that, and I can open up that sort of file directly. Now, to open it up, all you need to do is click on it. And now you can see it kind of creates its own viewer that you upload. In this case, it has two different pages. But as we'll see later, when there are multiple pages, it kind of shows them all as tiles like this. But if you want to look at one specifically, again, just click on it. It'll open it up directly here. And then that's where you can start getting this information about your veteran. Maybe these are things you didn't know about, sort of course, where he may have lived, if that was helpful, where he may have worked, those sorts of things. One of the things I love about draft cards in this case is if you haven't seen them, you go to the second page. If you didn't have a photo of an ancestor, you can kind of get a sense of what they look like just by clipping to this second page. And it gives you a description of his height and weight and some other things about him. So I have photos. I remember my grandfather, but in case I didn't know this veteran, that would be really handy. And something else I think is really cool too is if you look at these, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. You can see like their signatures at the bottom too. So it's always kind of fun to see that sort of thing as a part of a record. That's here. Now, what I want to show you is just a little bit about some of the tools that are available. So again, I logged in. So you can see in this top right up here, I have quite a few things that I could do. In the action section, I could do something like annotate or tag something. So here I can say, I'm going to just, we're going to do a tag. And I'm going to say my new tag is going to be, let's see, Robert Lawrence. Just put that in there. And I can add that. And I'll show you where that goes in your account later. But that can be a really helpful way of organizing your materials. You can create the tags however you want to create them. You also can annotate. So again, from this actions menu up here, if I annotate, I can say, I'm going to put this like right down here. And I'm going to say, maybe I'm making a habit of collecting signatures. So I'm going to just go ahead and annotate this signature, get a sense of what it is. Here's a name. Could be a transcription. You can see a custom label. You have a lot of ways to use this, but then you can save it. Now you have, I've created a transcription of Robert E. Lawrence, which makes it it could be a little bit more searchable later, as we know. Uh, uh, Handwriting itself is not always easily searchable, but when you add things like the annotations and such like that, it might make it a little easier for you to search. So I wanted to make sure that you see how to annotate and save, but also you can save this. You can see I can download it, I could print it, but I could say I could share it or save it elsewhere too. So I have those abilities right here directly within these tools. And again, these are available to me because I logged in. You might see some of them if you don't log in, but you get even more if you do create that free account and log in. So now that I have pretty much exhausted all I want to do with this particular record, I need to get back to my search. And to do that, the easiest thing in Fold3 is not to actually press the back button in your browser. It's to press this back button just to the left of the search option. So I'm going to do that. And when I do that, I get back directly to my searches. And I could continue scrolling down and see if I can find anything else that relates to my ancestor. So that's an option that we have there. Now, to get back to the home page, you can always click on this Fold3 icon in the top left. So now I'm back to the home page where we searched before. And I want to show you another way of searching, and that's using some of the filters that are available. We didn't talk about that, but I want to show you, here's another ancestor of mine who fought in the Revolutionary War. Again, this is a name I'm putting in, so I'm going to press that, and it's going to do the search. Now, again, here we are. With a name like Burwell Thompson, it's not as common as Robert Lawrence, so it didn't show me as many results, but it's still 189 results, and that's maybe more than I have time to sort through today. So what I want to show you is here on the left, you have what are called filters that you can add. You probably have seen these in other databases, but I want to make sure that you see these here. And what I do is, again, this is an ancestor I know who fought in the Revolutionary War. So say I'm working on my SAR application. I want to collect as much as I can about Burwell Thompson. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and it's going to redo my results. And then hopefully I will find Burwell Thompson here in my results somewhere. You can see here he is actually. It's interesting how it does it. You can see that it may not always make sense to us how they find the different results because, like the first result you would think would be Burwell Thompson, but in this case, it's finding Daniel Burwell and it's showing other places and sort of resources that it's hinting that might be what I'm looking for. I also know, like I did earlier with my grandfather, Robert Lawrence, I know that he lived in North Carolina, so I could have put that in the search up here, like I did with Tennessee earlier. But I wanted to show you again these sort of filters that are available. You can click as many as you want, and the more you click, of course, the smaller your results will get. You can even select, this particular type of publication. So, maybe I'm only looking for muster rolls. I could click on that, and it would redo my results and only show me 10 things. You can see here. And now I found my ancestor, and here he is, Burwell Thompson. I can see the information, North Carolina, everything's matching up. And this one's really cool. The other one that I had was a multi-image file, so it had 2 pages, but this one's got 24 pages. So that's a lot of information that I may not know or things I want to read through. And just like I did earlier, I can move through and click on any sort of these images, and then they will show up for me here. And this is where, things like the zoom feature may be really handy. It may take a little while to read these. As we know, a lot of the sort of, if you've had a chance to look at these sorts of documents, there are lots of letters that are included. So they could be, viable information, very vital information that you may not have known about someone just from the letters that are here within this sort of document. I want to also show you, this is, again, you have these share options, the tag. You can save it to Ancestry. So let's do that. I logged in with my Ancestry account earlier, and now I can look. It's automatically finding my one of my family trees. If you have more than one, you can select that here. But then you can go ahead and enter in your ancestor's name, and hopefully it will find them in the record. And, like here we go. I automatically have attached that to my tree and Ancestry as well. So now this might be an easy way for me to go and find that information later. I won't have to come back to Fold3. I won't have to log into my Fold3 account. I will have it directly attached to my ancestor on my Ancestry family tree. Now, the same thing would work if you wanted to use it in a different family tree software. You would just download it for yourself and then go and attach it. But since Fold3 is an Ancestry product, it makes it really easy to use Ancestry while searching in Fold3. So I wanted to make sure you see that option that's available. All right. Again, so that's another search option, and we're going to go back to our search results. And that should take us back to the page where we saw all this. But I want to show you another feature. So now we've talked a little bit about how to search, add some additional keywords to kind of narrow down. And then we did a search where we looked at the filters to see if we could narrow our results. Now I want to show you a way of browsing. Remember earlier I showed you right now we were searching only. We were doing targeted searches. We knew a veteran's name. We knew the conflict they fought in. We knew where they lived. So we had a lot of information available for us, and we were able to target our search. But say you have no idea, or you have very brief information about an ancestor. You're like, I know that one time my grandfather told me that his grandfather fought in the Civil War, but I don't really remember much about him. I might have a name. So in this case, I do know a little bit, but it could be that I don't know a lot at all. And this is where the browse feature can come in really handy. So what it automatically defaults to when you click on the search and browse option on the home page, it automatically defaults to searching, but you can turn on browsing easily just by toggling this over to browse. So you can see now what it's doing is it's showing me all the publications that are available for me to search. And you can see 977, again, quite a few, probably too many. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw in some additional information because I know that my ancestor fought for the Confederacy. So I'm going to type that in and see what happens there. And I also know that he lived in Arkansas. So I'm going to kind of scroll down here, and you can see that here we got some U.S. Civil War records that are Confederate from Arkansas. So that looks promising to me. I just, again, briefly mentioned that I've heard from an ancestor about this ancestor, but I don't know a whole bunch. So I kind of go through here and do some searching, and then I realize this is a lot. This is more than I probably may have already known. But thankfully, I have an ancestor who gave my ancestor a military tombstone. So I searched on Find a Grave, and I found the military tombstone, which included some information that's really going to be really helpful for me here. And in that case, I know that he fought in Company H. Just a moment here. And his last name was Campbell. So I clicked on that for the 7th Infantry. And again, this was on his gravestone, so that I was able to capture that information and utilize it here to do a search. There's a last name that might work for me. And this is really a good example of what I had done previously is I had gone in and tried to do a search for Benjamin Daniel Campbell. And I had tried multiple versions of Benjamin and Campbell and Benjamin D. Campbell, and I was not finding anything related to my ancestor. And come to find out, this is a good example of why I wasn't finding it, because the way it is indexed here is under Benj D. I would have never thought to search under Benj D. So this is a good way of, and a good reason to use something like browsing. Here we go. I'm going to click on it one more time. And now this is another one that's a multi-image file, and you can see I can go in and click and find out more information about him. And anything that I find here, I could easily take it and save it to Ancestry. I could download it, anything like that. This is this is really handy. This was one thing that I loved is in this sort of file about my ancestor, I had heard stories about his being captured and wounded in battle. We've probably all heard that about various ancestors. And I wanted to kind of get a sense of more, to understand more about him. And having this record was really handy because then I was able to see that not only was he captured and sent away as a prisoner of war, but he was sent to Camp Douglas, which was a historic sort of camp here in Chicago. So even before I moved to Chicago, I felt like I had an ancestor who had a connection to the area. And I've had a chance to go down and visit where Camp Douglas was and to see, you know, some of the stuff in Oakwood Cemetery that is a memorial to those who died there. But again, I found this information here on Fold3 just by browsing. I had done my searching and I couldn't find it anywhere. But when I browsed, I was able to move through the different searches and find the information that I wanted. So you can see that's available here. Again, those sort of actions where you can download, annotate, print it if you want to. If you like to save things and print them that way, you can do that certainly. You can notice also is something we're going to talk about a little bit later, is something called connecting to a memorial. One of the fun things about Fold3 is you can create memorials for your ancestors. So it could be that someone else has created them. You know, as we all know that we descend from different ancestors. And a lot of times we have, of course, shared cousins who also descend from the same ancestors. So it could be that they have already created a memorial for him, and then I can just attach that information for him. All right, so now we've talked a little bit about searching. We've talked some about browsing. The last thing I want to show you in Fold3 when it comes to searching and browsing is down here on the home page. If you scroll down, you can see that there are these little cards that relate to the different wars that we're used to seeing here. And if we scroll down, you can see that they have different photos that are associated with them. And you can click on any of these and do the searching there. This is also where it's easy to get to those. Remember, I mentioned they have more than just US records. They have records for the United Kingdom, New Zealand, Canada, and Australia. So if you have ancestors who may have served in wars in those countries, I encourage you to look and search here to see what's available, because there may be some records and documents that you didn't know about before. So this is just an example of, I did some searching just like I did earlier with my ancestor who fought in the Civil War, but I really wasn't finding anything. I had tried multiple versions of their names and nothing was showing up. So I thought, well, let's just try this browse feature. This is another instance of, I have an ancestor who gave a tombstone or who made sure that a military tombstone was installed for another ancestor, so that, you know, when I visited the gravestone, I was able to get a lot of information about their service just by being there. And I knew that this ancestor had fought, it just said on the gravestone, Indian Wars. So I had, you know, somewhat of a sense of maybe where they may have searched or what they did, but I didn't know a lot about what they did. So I want to kind of show you here some of the information I captured from the tombstone is I knew that the person's last name was Gibson, so we have a name there. I knew also that they fought in Tennessee, so a place. I also noticed that there was a name Cherry on the tombstone. I don't really know exactly what that related to, but just by entering in that information, that was just a keyword because it just said cherries. And I was like, I thought it might be someone's name or it might be a commander's name, but I didn't know for sure. So I just kind of want to put that in as a keyword. And when I do that, you can see like I put in a lot of different parameters. So as a result, I'm only getting 4 results. But the good news is there's my ancestor. Now, here's another instance of, this is why I never found him, because his name here is spelled Allin. And everywhere else I've seen it, it's either spelled Allan or Allen. So I'd never seen this, so I didn't know to search. So it's when we always make the joke in genealogy, think about how many different ways your ancestor's name could be misspelled. This is another instance of that. And now that I can click on this and I can get the information, there's not too much here, but it kind of gives me a little bit more to look for, and it confirms a little bit about other things that I found. I'm going to show you just another example of what's available here. Get rid of some of the search terms. So I have another ancestor who also fought in the Indian Wars. I know that his last name was Henley. Again, this is on his tombstone. And then it seems like he also was related to this Cherry. And here we go. Now I can find, Cherry's company, which I learned, the commander himself was named Benjamin Cherry. So that was the name of his regiment. And he recruited people from the area where my ancestors were living. So it all lines up and makes sense. And in this case, this is really cool because this is a pension file And when I view it, I can see his information, but I also can then begin to see his wife's information. We can get a data filing. We can learn more about this and maybe then go and search for this application or certificate. And we have this sort of information just right here by doing this search. So those are a few ways that you can utilize the searching within Fold3. So I want to make sure that you see them. There's all kinds of different ways that you can utilize Fold3. Now, something else I want to show you in Fold3 are these featured options here. You can see that they have things called war stories. They have an honor wall. They have something related to the U.S. Vietnam wall, so you can view that online. Just like the USS Arizona Memorial, you can view that directly online here and do some searching. So if you don't have a chance to travel to those locations, or if you haven't seen them in person before, you can easily do that here. Especially if you think maybe I have an ancestor involved in those, you can do the searching and viewing directly there. Earlier, I mentioned that you can create things called memorials, and that's in this thing called honor walls. And the honor walls, now you can see when I click on that, this is where I can begin to search and see maybe, maybe someone has already created something for my ancestor. So I'm just going to search and see if anything's there. And I've done the search before, so I know that there's nothing there. And this is the point where I could have the opportunity to create a memorial. And when you create a memorial, that you enter in all the information you know about your ancestor, about your veteran ancestor, and then you begin to attach things like photos and other documents. And I always encourage people when you create a memorial to make it public. You do have the option to make it private if you don't want folks able to add sort of documents or images or anything like that to it. You can make it private. So if they can't do that, they can still view it and search it, but they wouldn't be able to make any edits to it. I always like to think these memorials could be an opportunity for collaboration with other sort of descendants. So some of your other cousins who may descend from the same veteran ancestor, they could have photos, they could have other documents and things that you haven't seen. So it could be a fun way of collaborating. So you have that option of creating a memorial for your ancestor here directly. It could be that, if you find that there's one private and it's not making available for creating or adding additional things, you can always create your own too if you want to. But again, you can see that that's an option here. And it's a great way to honor our ancestors who have fought in various wars. Just by clicking on one, you can get the facts. This looks very similar to Ancestry. So you can get some facts about them. You might be able to see some awards that they got. Maybe you have some files where you see that they got some medals, but you don't know what the medals look like. You could see that directly here. But you also you can see this one, in this case, this person's attached a whole bunch of information, a lot of different images that you may have not seen before. So again, you can look here and you have the sources, which are always great when you're doing genealogy research. That's all available just by clicking on the memorial itself. And again, that's under featured honor wall, and you can do the search. Also, the other thing that I really want to point out is this thing, I kind of hinted at it a second ago, this US medals thing. This sort of individual project on Fold3 that focuses on the different medals that someone may have received by fighting for the United States in some sort of war. And you can begin to search, earlier I showed my grandfather, and I know that he got a good conduct medal. I saw that on a record that I had. So, here's an Army Good Conduct Medal. He fought for the Army. So I don't know where that medal is, but I can get a sense of what it looked like just by doing a search here, which can, really help. It's another thing to add and to learn about our ancestor. It's a particularly fun feature that I like within Fold3 itself. So I wanted to point that out. All right. So now we've talked a little bit about how to do the searching in Fold3. I want to talk just a bit more about some of the features. Again, the library version is free, so you can go in and search anytime with your library card. That's available to you. We also have the option to create a personal account, which we talked about, and you can subscribe to it. You can see here, this is some of the current rates, $4.75 per month, or you can pay for a yearly subscription. And that can be added to an existing Ancestry subscription. just point that out so that folks know that that isn't an option. I think having the free library version should be more than sufficient for you, but if you want to add that on, it's always an option for you to do so. Again, most everything's available through the library's edition. And earlier I mentioned that a lot of the databases make veteran records, military records available around Memorial Day a lot of times, and also around Veterans Day. So you can see here free access to World War I and World War II records are available through November 16th. Lucky for you, your library has a subscription, so you can access those outside of that time. You don't have to rush and see those, but I point that out just because it's something to look for in other databases, because a lot of them will offer that, and you can see it and use it. All right. So speaking of other databases, if you have British or Irish veterans, I do encourage you maybe to try a website called Find My Past if you haven't used it before. They are featuring free searches for their military records from November 7th through the 13th. You can see that there. Also, Ancestry is doing free access to over 200 million military records for Veterans Day, and that's going to end on November 12th. So just pointing out that a lot of different databases will have specials like this, including places like newspapers.com and other sort of places where you normally have to subscribe and pay. You can often find these little specials like this and set and maybe dedicate some special time to doing searching when they're free. Now, it could be that you aren't sure about when your ancestor may have served, or where they served, or if they even served at all. And I found this little chart that I think is really, really helpful. It's the birth years of veterans. You can see that if they were born between 1726 and 1767, it's possible that they fought in the Revolutionary War. Like, they would have been of the right age to fight in that time, to fight from 1775 to 1773. There are other instances, so say World War II is very common for us, and we are very familiar with that. Many of us probably knew a World War II veteran. And you can see that it's a very large range. Somebody could have been born from 1877 to 1925, and then they could have also been eligible and may have fought in World War II. It gives you a sense of where to look and if to look. It could be that, your ancestor didn't serve. And as I say here, not everyone did serve, but it doesn't hurt to look for those records, because they can really tell us a lot about our ancestor if we happen to find information about them. And even if they didn't serve, I showed you earlier draft cards, and at World War I, World War II, they would have filled out a draft card. And even if they weren't called up, they didn't enlist, and didn't actually go and fight, that information's there, and they would have filled that out. So even if they didn't end up serving, there may be something related to a military record there. Again, these birth years can be a clue, and then the battle years may also help you too. So I just want to make sure that you see that option available, kind of a handy little tool for you to see about when your ancestor may have served. Now, Fold3 doesn't have everything, and they don't have access to some of the newer stuff, and they certainly don't have comprehensive files. So it may be that you get enough on Fold3 or Ancestry or Find My Past or some of these other places, just enough to then generate a request for more information. And you may need to do that with the National Archives. You can see here I give a link to that. This really should be the person who's next of kin to the veteran, if at all possible. And you need the basic information about your veteran, things like service number, social security number, things like that. And usually you can find that information by searching Ancestry or even on Fold3. So you'll have that information to create it. And then records are generally available 62 years after a service member separation from the military. So NARA itself has recent military service and medical records, and they're not online. But most veterans and their next of kin, again, can obtain free copies using the DD Form 214. And that's available online. You can print it out and fill it out and mail it in, or you also can generate a request online through NARA. And then you will receive your information either by email or mail, just depending on how you sent it into them. Sometimes it's very quick. Right now, I think there's a little bit of backlog, so it might take a little while to get your information. But it's really handy. You can get a lot of their a lot of information that you may not get just by searching in a database like Fold3 or Ancestry. So I do encourage you, if you think you have an ancestor or you know you have an ancestor, you might be able to make those requests and get that information. I know with my kind of a word of caution with my ancestor, I showed you my grandfather. I did this request, and there was a fire back in the 70s in one of the major storehouses. And sadly, his records were destroyed, but they did let me know that. And they sent me one thing that they had, just kind of one page. But I did help someone else do a request. I helped my mother-in-law request for her father. And it was amazing what came back. I mean, pages and pages and pages of information. And what was really cool about it is they clearly had suffered from the same fire, but it had been rescued because they had a little bit of the burn edges on the scan itself. So I thought that was really a cool sort of additional part of those records, is seeing that they were saved from the fire itself. Another place that you can go and search, so in addition to asking the National Archives, you also can use the Burls database, BIRLS, and that's burls.org. It's a database that includes people who served in all branches of the U.S. military, including some branches that no longer exist. It even includes files for some non-U.S. nationals who served prior to and during the Second World War. Almost all U.S. veterans have or had a veteran benefits claim file. So that's really what you're going to be able to access here. So by NARA, you get their actual military records. You may get some discharge paperwork. You may get some other things that relate to their service and time in the Army or in the Marines or something like that. But if they filed for veterans benefits after they served, you may be able to go through Burls and submit a Freedom of Information request and then get that information. I did that for my ancestor. Again, there really wasn't anything available, but it could be that there is something. So I do encourage folks to try. It's free. They'll email you or mail you information if they find it. But either way, they'll let you know if they found anything or not. I was very excited when I got mine in the mail. I did notice it was a small envelope, so I didn't know exactly what was in there. And it basically was a letter to saying, we're sorry, we don't have anything for your ancestor. But again, it's worth a try. It's free. You might be able to find additional information about your ancestor. So when it comes to learning even more about Fold3, they have an FAQ page. They have some tutorials that are available freely on YouTube. Just go and do a search for Fold3, and you'll find those. They're available from Fold3, but also a lot of the renowned genealogists who have done other webinars that you likely have attended have also recorded some information about Fold3. So I encourage you to check that out. They also have guides, individual guides that help you with the searching too. So I was only able to talk a little bit about some of the features today and show you some of the ways to search and browse. But if you really want to take a deep dive, I encourage you to read those guides.